Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Ryan here from Game Essays, and we are back with another monthly Zelda tier list. If you're asking yourself, hey, what the heck was last month's tier list? Well, we did Elden Ring, so it's a little bit different. But today we are looking at the art styles of Zelda games, ranking them tier list style. So first, let's set the baseline for criteria. We're looking at art style over everything else. So I know graphics, it's gonna be tough in particularly one era to try and separate graphics from art style, but we're gonna try our best to do that, and let's get right into it. Let's just go in game order. So, like order of release, I should say. So the original Legend of Zelda. I am going to go with B tier on this one. Now, I think it's going to be like a generous B because the sprites from this game are very iconic, and I think there is a charm to the pixel art. So for that alone, I think it gets to go to the B tier. I mean, you will still see the original Legend of Zelda Link on mugs and t-shirts, so there is a charm to it. There's still plenty of merchandise that uses the original 8-bit sprites, and for that alone, I think it deserves a B tier. Zelda 2. Zelda 2, it's, I think I want to give it a D tier because the map is so dang ugly, but there is some good stuff about Zelda 2 as well. I'm going to give it D tier for now because, yeah, some of the blocky art style of the overworld is just so bad. Like, it just, you know, you can look at a lot of the original Legend of Zelda and I think it aged pretty well, but Zelda 2 in particular, the map just looks so bad. But the side-scrolling areas, that's the thing, the graphics aren't that terrible. But, I don't know, it's a tough one. I'm going to leave it at D for now. There could be a case for C tier. I probably wouldn't have it higher than C tier, though. Okay, we're going to go to A Link to the Past, and that is the easiest S tier of my life. Link to the Past, the graphics, they have aged like a fine wine. They still look beautiful to this day, and they're just fantastic. I love the sprite work for Link to the Past. Everything still looks great, masterfully done. Someone could have made the game yesterday and nobody would bat an eye. Everyone would say that game looks great. So A Link to the Past just has timeless art style that still looks great, and you've really not much else to say. Everything about it looks fantastic. Not like literally nothing about that game looks bad. Okay, Lynx Awakening. Now, I didn't take into the point. I picked this tier list and then I was like, oh crap. We have different versions of Link's Awakening. We have DX, original, and of course we have the Switch version. So I am just going to put it on its best day, right? We're going to pretend that this is the Switch version, and I will put the Switch version at S tier because I love the art style of it. I haven't even played through the game yet, but just the footage I've seen of it, the art style is so charming and it's so incredible and so creative how it looks like almost like they're, you know, it's like a diorama and it's like these toys or whatever. It just looks super, super cool. But even, I guess I would probably put B tier maybe for the pixel art, you know, the original Game Boy ones. I would probably put it somewhere around B tier. The Oracle games. Now, the Oracle games, I might actually... Oh, wait. It's not actually time for the Oracle games, is it? No. It is actually time for Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time... if we're talking Ocarina of Time 3D... I'm probably gonna put it in... Where do I want to go with this? I probably put it in the B tier. I think it looks good, but I feel like it doesn't have the style of some of the other games that I would, you know, put it next level. So I think B tier is good. It's just solid. Okay, next would be Majora's Mask. And Majora's Mask for me is going to be an A tier. I think there's a lot more style to this one. The way that they design some of the dungeons, the way, like, the moodiness of it. Like I said, it's just more stylistic. There's more, you know, if Ocarina of Time is just like a good, like, baseline, like, standard fantasy kind of color palette, everything, but Majora's Mask was being more daring with the colors and the things that they were using and how they were designing areas of the game and just how it all comes together. I think Majora's Mask was much more daring in that respect artistically, so I would put it in A tier. Now we go to the Oracle games, and the Oracle games I am going to drop in C tier. They basically look exactly the same, but they're kind of just reusing assets from Lynx Awakening. Like, they're lifting a ton from Lynx Awakening, so for the lack of uniqueness in its art style, I'm going to knock it down to C. Even though it still looks good, I think just the lack of doing enough to make it stand out is where I put it at C. Again, like, I don't blame them. There was nothing wrong with the Link's Awakening art style, but it makes it harder. Like, if you were to show someone footage from Link's Awakening in the Oracle games and someone who was not familiar with the Zelda series, they would not be able to tell you which is which. It would just be literally a coin flip. Okay, after the Oracle games, I think we have Wind Waker next. And Wind Waker, it doesn't even matter which version you have. This is going at the top of S tier for me. It's just timeless. Obviously, the HD version, in my opinion, it does look better just because you have that crisper resolution and you have widescreen and everything. It is sometimes like a little too bright, but most of the time it just looks absolutely stunning and totally deserves to be at the top of S tier. I forgot Four Swords in here somewhere, but I would probably just put Four Swords at C tier. Like, it doesn't look bad, but there's nothing particularly special about it. And Minish Cap, I'm actually going to put Minish Cap at A tier because, and people might be like, well, don't Four Swords and Minish Cap use like a very similar art style? And yes, they do. I think they use a lot of the same assets, but where Minish Cap shines is the fact that in that game, you shrink down to size, to like Minish size, and the sprite work that they do, or whatever they do, I don't know if it's sprites or whatever, but the work that they do on like the graphics of small Link and the way that like the acorns and the leaves and everything look, it's beautiful and incredibly well done. So there was way more going into making the game look beautiful and standing out than in Four Swords, which is just like a few levels. I know there was the Anniversary Edition, but I'm never going to rank the Anniversary Edition if they're going to make it so dang hard to actually find and play it. Okay, I don't remember if Phantom Hourglass or Twilight Princess happened, so I'm just going to go with Twilight Princess next. And here we go again, but Twilight Princess for me is a B tier. Boos all around, the crowd's booing me, but hey, whatever. The reason I have Twilight Princess in the B tier, so the pros for me, the pros are, I think, Link, Ganon, Zant, Zelda, Midna, all the core characters of the game. A lot of the enemies designs I think are great. The way that a lot of the humans and the characters, I just did not like the style in which they made those characters look. There's a few that I think look fine, but I think a lot of the characters, they're just kind of like off-putting. They kind of throw you off. I don't know. I just wasn't a fan of the style. I get that they were trying to do some kind of weird style with some of the humans or Hylians in the game, but I just wasn't a fan. There's also just the way that some of the areas, I'm trying to keep graphics out of it, and again, even in the HD version, the way that some of the areas were designed, I just thought they were kind of bland, and not just like, oh, the graphics aren't to today's standards or whatever, but just the design of the areas were bland. And you know, same can be said for a few areas in Ocarina of Time, to be honest, and that's why it's on the same playing field. I'm trying to keep graphics out of it, and I'm kind of putting Ocarina and Twilight Princess on the same playing field graphically. I think there's both things that a lot of those games do better than the art style. I think a lot of the dungeons are beautiful, and that's why they deserve B tier. And like I said, the main characters, I love the designs of all the main characters in Twilight Princess. So I think a solid B tier in that respect. Link Between Worlds. Wait, why am I saying Link Between Worlds? It's the first one, but I think we should probably do Four Swords here. Four Swords, I'm actually going to also put at B tier. It's a lot of reused assets, but I kind of like that they did something a little different where they kind of have some of the 3D stuff. Like they have like stuff from like Wind Waker. It looks like it was literally ripped right out of Wind Waker, like 3D, like Phantom Ganon or whatever. And then you have kind of like a Link to the Past art mixed together. So it's kind of like they just reused a lot of stuff, but they kind of mashed up like 2D stuff and 3D stuff, and they made it kind of cool. So for that, I'm gonna give it a B tier. I think the game looks fine, but yeah, it does reuse a lot, which knocks it down. I wouldn't have it any higher than B anyway. B is like the absolute limit for this game, but I will give it a B tier because that was a little interesting and a little bit different, even if it was like I've seen all this before, but not in this way. Okay, what is actually next? We can do the DS games next. Yeah, I probably put Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks probably in C tier. I know they're trying to do like the Wind Waker art style, and I'm trying to keep graphics out of it. Both of them kind of just really played into that Wind Waker art style, and I think definitely by Spirit Tracks we were starting to get a little bit tired of it. And it's really hard for me to put the graphics aside because when they do cutscenes, sometimes like it's really pixelated. And I know that's graphical limitations, but it does really impact it when things just kind of look ugly at times. Particularly, Phantom Hourglass is more fresh in my mind for this. But yeah, I'm just going to put them at C tier. Again, they're reusing Wind Waker's art style, but it's worse. But yeah. And then A Link Between Worlds. Why do I keep wanting to say A Link Between Worlds? We're trying to go in somewhat order here. It would actually be Skyward Sword. Skyward Sword I will put at an A tier. I appreciate Skyward Sword's art style. I like on the Wii version that they tried to do that blur, that artistic blur of the background. It was supposed to look like impressionist artwork. And it is very cool. It's unfortunate the HD version we do lose that effect, but I think there's a lot of areas of this game that do look beautiful, and I think the art style is a nice mix between kind of like Twilight Princess and Wind Waker. It was kind of that good middle ground. So I like it. Finally, actually A Link Between Worlds now. It's just been the first one, and I keep going to it. But A Link Between Worlds, I'm actually going to go with C tier, maybe like the top of C tier. And Triforce Heroes is basically the same art style too. So yeah, I don't like it that much. I don't hate it, but I don't like it. I don't know what to say. It just doesn't have the same charm as the A Link to the Past art style. I don't know. It just doesn't do it for me. It's not bad, but again, yeah, I don't know what else to say other than it doesn't do it for me. It's a fantastic game. I love the game. I really do. But the art style just doesn't really do it for me. And then Breath of the Wild, I would probably put like... I'm going to put it at the top of A tier. There's some very stunning moments. It looks great. I think it deserves A tier. It doesn't go that next level like, wow, this game is absolute... I don't know. It does have stunning moments too. Ooh, It's tough. It's tough. I kind of want to put it on the lower end of S tier. I mean, it is a beautiful game. And just being able to look out into the distance and the style of it, I'm still going to leave it at A tier. Just because I think the other three are just like perfection. Whereas Breath of the Wild, I think, is very, very, very good with its art style. So that's where I stand, guys. Make sure to let me know what you guys think, how you push, like how you would position them, why I'm wrong about Twilight Princess in every single one of these. Let me know, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.